to take us through the equity market, we've got Mia Kruger joining us from Kruger International in studio here in Johannesburg. Mia, thanks so much for joining us today. So we've been talking about the Amplats situation. It seems that there is a sense you could have an eruption of violence once again. What's your assessment of all that's taking place post the announcement by Amplats yesterday?
Well, it's difficult to assess what's happening post the announcement. We've seen that the share price have obviously come under pressure, and like we would have expected. Also, like Chris Griffith said, you know, that's one of the reasons why it's such a sensitive area of information and why you couldn't just go ahead and discuss it with all stakeholders. The fact that they're taking this step forward is, I mean, it is kind of to be expected. We've seen the direction that Anglo American has been entering since 2012. They've said that they're going to reassess the whole platinum industry, or their involvement in the platinum industry, and the viability of that investment for them as a company. You know, we know that they're kind of working hard to return to a strong, profitable company, and this is a step in the direction that they did mention. So it's not too surprising in that sense. Unfortunately, it's never nice to hear that 14,000 people are going to be jobless, but we should remember that there were prolonged industrial action last year that turned violent, that was destructive, and it was ultimately destructing the earnings of these companies because it cost the companies so much. Yeah. But if we look at the figures, you know, 400,000 grams or ounces of platinum that they're going to lose out on when they close these 4 shafts is around 15% of their total production of platinum. Now, Anglo Platinum is the biggest producer of platinum in South Africa, and that amounts to around 6% of new production in the world, which is significant, and that's why we've seen the platinum price increase so significantly.
So the platinum price has rallied, but Amplats is down 6.4% almost today, and I suppose the risk right now is kind of execution risk of this plan, because you've got the South African government saying that they weren't consulted. Chris Griffith said he's going to sit down with Minister Susan Shabangu. I'm sure those meetings are going ahead. You have Labour very unhappy about this. What if this plan doesn't go ahead and it will just take that much longer to, I mean, what's the future of Amplats right now? I mean, your views on that execution risk, really?
Well, like we mentioned now, it's a company owned by private shareholders. It's not a company where government is really involved in. So if you have to look at it on that sense, they have mentioned that that everyone, all the stakeholders should actually remember that the company is hanging on a thread. If it doesn't cut these jobs, all 60,000 people in the company might lose their jobs, because it wouldn't be viable for the company to go forward at all. So we need to keep that in mind. It is a difficult situation. As we know, the labour situation in South Africa is a tough one to negotiate. So it's very unclear. It's quite company specific at the moment.
And of course, on the side of Anglo American, if you're not making profits at Amplats, you're not paying taxes to the South African government. Let's move our attention to Woolworths, because interesting share price movements on the day, because we had that trading update today and pretty bullish. The market really liked it at first, and then ultimately the stock closed flat for the day after falling back quite significantly yesterday.
You're right. We saw the sector come down quite a bit since that sales report from ShopRite that disappointed the market. So we've seen Woolworths as part of the sector come down quite significantly. I think initially when the news came out that earnings could be up 24%, which is actually in line with what analysts are expecting for the company. The market kind of overreacted to the positive side, and then they just realized, listen, if we still buy the company now, we're buying it out on 3 years on this type of earnings growth. So it's still a little stretch to get into that sector. I think, you know, I'd still be wary to invest in a company like that, but it's good results from a company like Woolworths.
As you say, pretty much in line with expectations, and keep in mind the 82% rally in Woolworths stock price, I suppose last year, just that year alone. Retail sales as a whole, I mean, those numbers coming out for the month of November today, and encouraging 3.4% year-on-year growth in real terms. That, of course, increased from the previous month. Overall, I mean, you talk about the elevated levels of the retail sector, but what's your assessment of the health of the consumer right now in South Africa?
Well, we know that the debt levels in the country are also quite stretched. So I wouldn't say that it's so healthy as it is growing, but it is growing. And we've seen coming out famous brands today also mentioned that they had a very good increase in their month-on-month comparable to last December. And they said, you know, it looked like more people were going on holiday kind of getting this tough year that they've seen in 2012 behind them. So increased spending by the consumer, increased spending especially over that Christmas period and holiday period. And I think, I don't know how sustainable that is. So that's not something that I'd get overly excited about.